In this tutorial, we will learn how to accurately match a virtual Blender camera to a real-world camera. Unlike our previous tutorial, we'll be using Fspy, which is a freely available app that will help us to solve the camera using perspective. So you might ask, if Fspy can solve our camera for us, why don't we just use it for all of our camera matching needs? And the simple answer is, in order for Fspy to work, we need an image that has reliable lines of perspective in two axes, so not just any image will do. Because of this requirement, Fspy works best when photographing a manufactured environment rather than a natural scene. So here you can see that I've photographed the inside of the outside of a building, and my image has clear lines of perspective for two axes. So let's go to Fspy, and we will drag and drop our image in here, and you can see that we have lines for our axes. We've got green for the y-axis and red for the x-axis, and I'm going to uncheck this dim image option, and I'm just going to start lining these lines up with the lines that represent the different axes. And if I hold down Shift, then it will zoom in a little circular area for me that shows a little more precisely where I'm placing those lines. So line these up as best we can. You can see there is a little curvature. There's some drainage in this area, so it's not perfect. So hopefully it'll still work for us. We'll see. And you can also see that as I move these axes, the data over here updates. I'm going to check this box to have Fspy also solve the focal length of my camera. I can see that right now it thinks that camera is about 31 millimeters in focal length, or the camera lens. Let's just move things around a little bit and see if that changes at all. And it looks like that's staying pretty consistent, so that's probably pretty close to the actual value. There we got a 32, 32.3. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So what I would do now is I would save my Fspy project, which I've already done in this instance. Then we can close out of that. And our next step is to make it so that we can import that project into Blender. So you can download Fspy from fspy.io. And on that website, there's also a link to download the official Fspy importer add-on. So if I click on that and I scroll down, I can download the latest version here, which I've already done. And then we can go into Blender and enable that add-on. So we go to Edit and Preferences. And under Add-ons, you can see I've already searched for it here. But if I didn't have it, I would click this little down arrow and click Install from Disk. And then I would double click on the zipped file. So some browsers automatically unzip compressed files after downloading. If your browser has done this, you might need to download the add-on again and keep it in zipped format. But we would just install it from here. And then make sure that that add-on is enabled. And from there, it's a simple matter to go to File and Import, and we now have an import option for Fspy projects. If I double click on my saved Fspy project, then it brings it in, and you can see that it has brought in a new camera object. It's named after the image that I dropped into Fspy. So let's delete our old camera. And it's done a couple of other things as well. It's changed the aspect ratio and the rendering resolution of our project so that it matches the camera that I took this photo with. So let's look at a rendered view here and just kind of see what this looks like. And I'm rendering in cycles. That's important because I'm going to be using a shadow catcher, which requires cycles. So we need a floor. Let's Shift A and add a plane. We'll move it down 1 meter so that it's directly underneath our 2 meter cube, GZ -1. And then we'll scale it up, and you can see how well the lines on this plane are matching the lines on the ground. That's because Fspy did a pretty good job solving for this camera. So we're going to turn this floor into a shadow catcher. This makes it so that it only shows shadows. So under Object Properties, we go to Visibility, and there's a little checkbox here to create a shadow catcher. And you can see that that basically makes it so that this is now just rendering our background color in our image viewport. It should be transparent, but we need to make one more tweak to our scene before that will actually happen. So if we go to our render properties again and go down to film, twirl that down and check the box that says transparent, then our shadow catcher becomes transparent and our whole scene becomes transparent. So now we need to match what's happening with our light. And you can see like this shadow is going a different direction than these shadows, and we're illuminating the cube with a point light which has fall off, as opposed to the sun, which doesn't have any noticeable fall off from our perspective. So I'm going to change this light to a sunlight, and I'm going to turn the power way down because with no fall off that strength is too high. Let's change it to 5, and I'm just going to change the angle to try to match what I'm seeing happening with the building shadows over here. And I think that looks pretty good. The shadows on my object are a lot softer edged than the shadows coming off of the building. So in order to fix that, we need to change this angle property of the sun. It needs to go downward to sharpen those shadow edges. So let's change that to 0.5. And I think that looks like a good level of softness. I'm pretty happy with that. And even though the shadow catcher is transparent, it still shows up in reflections, and therefore the reflected light that's hitting our object. So in order to color this correctly, we can use our photo that we already have imported to color the plane. So let's add a material to the plane. Let's go to our shading workspace. We'll look at that through a rendered viewport here, and we'll add a material to the plane, and we're going to add an image to that material. And that image is just going to be our same Fspy image. Now, by default, this kind of brings it in a weird way. So we are going to add a texture coordinate node. And instead of our usual generated or UV output, we're going to use this window node. And what this does is this lines it up with the view of our 3D viewport. So by plugging that in, you can see that basically it lines it up, it projects it onto the plane as if the camera needs to see the whole thing from its perspective perfectly. So I know that was a grammatical nightmare, but you can see the result here. And what that does is that makes it so that this ground plane is now bouncing the correct color of light up onto the cube according to the cube's location. So if we move this cube over here a little bit, you see we get more red light because there's red ground underneath it. If we move it over onto this uncolored concrete, then that red is only showing up kind of peripherally. And if we just unplug that all together, you can see that that bounce light leaves the cube altogether. So that's making it match our scene a lot better, actually. That went a long way. And again, that's just a window texture coordinate output into the vector input of our image texture. That's accomplishing that. Okay, now most cameras have some color processing baked into the images, so shadows can have a different color cast to them. In order to match this, we need to separate our rendered shadow from everything else that we're rendering. So I need to create a second render layer, and my render layers are up here in the very top right. I'm going to rename my current render layer to foreground. And then I'm going to create a new render layer, and I'm just going to call it ground. Or I could call it background or whatever I wanted, really. Now, under my filtration options here, I'm going to enable the indirect only filtration. And I'm going to create a new scene collection. I'm going to call this collection ground. And I'm going to rename the old one, instead of just calling it collection, we'll call it foreground. And what I want to do is, for the ground view layer or render layer, I want all the objects in the foreground to only interact with this render layer indirectly. So I'm going to check that box in here, and you can see everything disappeared now, including my ground plane, which is my shadow catcher. And my shadow catcher actually needs to go inside the ground collection. So now when I'm in the ground render layer, I only see the shadow. So let's go back to the foreground render layer, and we'll enable things the other way. So indirect only from the shadows. And so now you can see I'm getting some ambient occlusion from that shadow, but I'm not getting the shadow itself in this layer. So what that allows us to do is, if we render our scene here, let me try to shrink that down so you can see what's going on a little better. So if we render our scene here, we can now go into our compositor. We can start a new compositing node setup. And what we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate our render layer. Whoops, don't want to duplicate everything. Duplicate our render layer node. So this one, you can see it has the foreground layer selected. The second one, we want it to have the ground layer selected. And we're going to plug both of these into an alpha over mix node. So Shift A, we'll go to our color and alpha over. We're going to I see they've labeled these in 5.1. I was just using 4.5, and they still just had 2 inputs. So the background is actually going to be our shadow, and the foreground is going to be our image. Okay, so we now have our shadow underneath the image. If we were to swap these, you would see that our shadow shows up on top of the rendered box, the rendered cube, which is not what we want. So we've got our alpha over there, and then we want our image behind this. So let's bring in an image node, and we're going to just select our same image here, our Fspy image. And we are going to create another alpha over node. And we're going to drop that onto our foreground and put our image into the background. Okay, so now we've got a pretty good composite, but I'm looking at this shadow here, and I'm seeing that it's pretty warm, and these shadows over here are pretty cool. So because we have these separated out into layers, we can actually kind of color match that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this shadow image, and I am going to color correct just that. So let's go to our color. Let's grab a mix color node, and we'll drop that on here, and you can see that it's affecting everything except the render right now. So we'll take our alpha channel for our shadow layer, and we'll put it into the mix factor, and now we are just affecting the shadow, and boy does that look weird. If we don't want any effect at all, we just change this down to black. But I want to change this to kind of blue. Let's actually multiply this. There we go. That's a better effect. I'm having a little trouble here because I practiced this in 4.58. There we go. Screen's giving me the effect that I want, and these overlays were not doing the same thing there. So what I can do is select a cooler area of the color wheel and kind of shift these colors to be a little more on the blue side. Let's see what that looks like. And I think that's a little bit of a better match. So I'm a little happier with that. And I hope this is helpful. Obviously, you can save your image from here and have a great day.